It's just a minute or two after 9, and we are going to start the March 21st meeting of the Regional Project Coordination Committee. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm going to welcome, for her first meeting sitting up here, Adriana's alternate for the Water District, and Hammond.
Yeah,
Pennington. Welcome.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, welcome. Thank you very much for participating. We very much value Water District, Water Authority's input in these critical inputs. So thanks for being here.
First item is our first citizens participation item. And no action can be taken on any matter discussed under this item, although the committee can direct it be placed on a future agenda. Is there any initial citizen comments? Hearing none, we will move on to approval of the minutes for the meeting of February 21st. Were there any comments, corrections, questions on those minutes? Hearing none, I will move to approve those minutes. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None opposed. The minutes are approved. The third item is an updated list of entity and utility company contact persons on our contact list. Are there any changes?
Hopefully, we've got everybody squared away. There's always seems to be one or two each month where there's an adjustment. So
Don't be shy if anything's wrong.
looks like you got it.
Fantastic.
I'm just gonna note that in the last meeting, probably in the minutes, I mentioned I had a few changes. I did not get those in writing. I promise to do it next time. We like to list all of our project managers because they are supposed to be the contacts that show up on the regional project coordination list. And we have a new project manager in design and a new project manager in construction. And we also list our program managers, and Christina Swallow is leaving to enjoy her many other aspirations in life.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think today is her last day. She will, of course, remain the president of ASCE for a while.
Wow, that's big news. Well, good for her.
Good for her. With that, with no official changes yet to the list, we will move on to receive our single presentation this time. We had two last time. A quarterly report from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitor Authority on upcoming events.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is our standing item. We have Patrick Coyne here with the Las Vegas Convention Authority to give us his quarterly report on all the great things coming to town. So, take it away, Patrick.
All right. Good morning, everybody. First, I'm going to go over the event list that's coming into town, so you guys can kind of see what the attendance numbers of some of these events are. Know that the economic impact of some of these things is north of $100 million for like this first one, the National Association of Broadcasters. Like I said, the impact will be north of $100 million. So, we really want to ensure that these shows and events have good experiences here. So, the less impact that you guys can have on these shows, the better off, obviously, all of us will be right off the bat. So, I know it's tough though. So the first one is the Broadcasters. It does come in April. It does come every year. Like I said, this is one of our largest shows that does come here, and one of the largest shows in the nation, actually, as well. I think it's definitely in the top 10. I'm not sure which number it lies at right now. If you scroll down a little bit, Tammy, to May down there, you'll see that Electric Daisy Carnival, EDC. Traditionally, this has been in June, kind of in the third, fourth week of June, and now has moved up into May, and it'll maintain that time frame from here on out. So this one obviously moves up earlier. It's a little less hot out there for all the folks that attend this festival. But look at the attendees on this, 400,000 people. and all of us have seen this madness here in the valley, but it's obviously is a pretty neat event as well. If you scroll down a little further, the event list that you have in front of you does go through all the way December of next year, but I'm just going to kind of highlight the ones that are coming for the rest of this year. Some of them do repeat through next year as well. Memorial Day weekend, big visitation here. Any sort of 3-day weekend, as you know, people come to Las Vegas, hang out, spend their money, hang out by the pool, and everything as well. So, you know, the less impact on I-15, because we have a lot of drive-up traffic here, the better, obviously. So if we can minimize that, that's great. Just go down a little further, probably into September, Tammy. You'll see that there's a NASCAR event here in September. That's a second NASCAR event, in addition to the one that we traditionally have in March. So this is the first year that we're actually going to have two NASCAR events here. So, and this will go forward. It'll be 2 every year from here going forward. It's something that we do sponsor, but again, you can see it's over 100,000 visitors to that as well. And then, of course, the Life is Beautiful event that is downtown too, and that brings in a ton of visitors as well. The next real big one is SEMA. This one's really impactful because there are so much, it features cars, so there's a lot of driving around the valley. And if anybody has seen that show, you know that there's tons of cars here, and everybody soups up their cars and brings them here to showcase them and stuff as well. And there's always traditionally a parade at the end of this event where they drive their cars outside of the halls, outside of the parking lots, and they kind of do a parade around the valley a little bit. In the past, we've had our Diamond and Gold lot where they've done an event over there, but this year that's going to be closed. So we don't know what they're actually going to do, but it'll probably be some parade that is affiliated with the Strip somehow, I'm sure. And then, of course, if you go into December, you know, you see the Cowboy Christmas Show and New Year's Eve, obviously 2 big events here in the valley. Again, these have a huge economic impact for us. So, you know, any sensitivities to those events is definitely appreciated. And then we jump right into CES starting off the next year. So, you know, there's always something going on for us. You know, we're always promoting some sort of event. And I think you guys have heard when I've been here before that the economic impact of all the events that come to the valley is about $60 billion a year. So, I mean, it's a ton of money that we want people to have a good experience while they are here, so that they keep coming back and they tell their friends to keep coming back.
60 billion a year?
60 billion a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that all? We need
That's it.
more.
Yeah, that's it. I'm kidding. So that's kind of the events, and you can go through the rest of it, and you can see the other events that come through. The Super Bowl weekend, March Madness, of course, brings a lot of people as well, and then just the spring break in general brings a lot of people too. So there's always something going on that we're supporting people from out of town for. So. I think you guys know our main mantra really is heads in beds. The more people we have, the more people that sleep in our beds, the more money that they bring into the valley as well. So heads in beds is kind of our tagline, if you will. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is some of the projects that are going around the valley. Now, a lot of you may have heard about these already, but there's a lot of expansions going along with some of the hotels. If you look at Wynn Resort, they're doing a $1.5 billion project called Wynn Paradise Park, and that's going to be on the Strip. And they're going to expand 1,000 rooms on that property. And that's right across the street from where they currently are, and just east of the Trump Hotel there. Resorts World, also just north of there, is doing an 87-acre expansion there, or build out up there, actually. They're building that project as we speak. That's going to be done around 2020. Steve Wynn's project's going to be done around 2020. Fontainebleau was purchased, is being rebranded to the Drew Las Vegas. That project also is going to be open in late 2020. The Raiders Stadium, everyone knows about that, $1.9 billion, 65,000 seat stadium, scheduled to be done in 2020. MSG, the Madison Square Garden Company in Sands Corp, is doing I guess we call it a theater, 18,000 seats, again, to be done in 2020. So a lot of projects coming online to be done in 2020. Ourself included, the Las Vegas Convention Center is expanding, a little over 1 million square feet, 600,000 square feet of exhibit space, $860 million project that's also scheduled to be done in late 2020. So it sets a theme here that, 2020 is going to be a huge year for us construction-wise and a lot of things coming online. So obviously, we're building that building because more shows have told us if we build it, they will come. They'll bring their shows, they'll expand their shows, or other shows will relocate from other destinations like Chicago and Orlando to our destination. Shows traditionally find that if they come to Las Vegas, more people come to their shows. They love coming to Las Vegas. So we've got a great product here, and we want to keep it moving in that direction. Okay. Any questions on any of the buildings? And yes, sir.
Okay, I work with FAST, so we deal with a lot of the automotive guys and companies doing demonstration projects for both CES and primarily CES, a little bit of SEMA.
Okay.
But they always worked out of Gold Lot, so we always worked with them, with their vehicles coming out of the Gold Lot and then going out onto the city and county streets, work with the agencies. So I thought I heard you say that Gold Lot may not be available.
It will not be. As of April 1st, it's closing, and that's where our new building is going to be. It's going to be built out at.
Has there been any talks or thoughts of where the automotive companies that used to use the Gold Lot, where they're going to go, or?
Well, we do have other parking lots on our property. The Platinum Lot which is on the east side of Swenson, south of Desert Inn. At that intersection right there, we're kind of entertaining that, but of course it's whether the shows want to use them or not. But we do have other space for them to use as well. And we're kind of looking at all scenarios are on the table, if you will, because losing the Gold Lot is very impactful to a lot of our shows.
Yeah, we've already started talking to some of the car companies already, and I thought I had heard the Gold Lot was going away, so we've kind of told them, talk to the convention center.
Yep.
And then the sooner we know where they're gonna be, then that helps us from the infrastructure side of what we need to do and plan and accordingly, so.
Yep.
The sooner we know.
I can tell you without question, they will not be in the Gold Lot or Diamond Lot. So that's all I can really tell you. But they,
Okay.
hopefully, they will put up, like we said, in the Platinum Lot or the Bronze Lot, which is just north of Sierra Vista, there between Paradise and Swenson. So.
Okay.
So hopefully, we'll have more information for you on that the next time. But none of the shows have really decided exactly what they're going to do with their cars between SEMA and CES. That we've got to figure that out. So.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Also, Patrick, Shana with Las Vegas, or NV Energy. But we have, since all these are coming, our completions are 220, right?
Yeah, 2020.
2020,
Yeah.
I mean. So a lot of the construction is going to be 19, 18, 19.
Sure.
2019. There's a lot of projects happening. So I know we have a big, large one that, we have several large ones that are coming that will definitely affect that area. So
Sure.
would you be the one that I have our representative, so if they need to get with you, because this helps us a lot because of the construction that we're going to be doing.
Okay.
And also, I know NDOT will be doing stuff there, for everything for the stadium, so everything's going to be impact.
Yes.
heavily.
Yeah. Right.
So we want to, coordinate with you the best we can and try to make sure that, we keep things going. But are you the person
I'm not the person, but I can definitely put you in touch with everybody.
Okay, so I'll
I
get
have
with you
that. Yeah,
afterwards.
I'll give you my card, and then we can definitely email me and get in touch with everybody. So,
Awesome.
and that's a good point. To anybody that has any sort of questions with us, make sure I'll put you in touch with whoever you need to chat with, because we want to know what you're doing so we can communicate that to our clients. So it definitely helps us. I know the Water District is doing a project with us that we've met with you, you kind of told us the scope of the work and how much it's going to impact us, and it's very helpful that we just know that ahead of time so that we can communicate it to our clients. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just a general question, Patrick. How does this time frame, April 18 to April 19, compare to the previous one, April 17 to April 18? Are you up?
Yeah,
Steady?
so right now we are seeing uptick in most of our shows. So we are seeing visitation come back. The economy, as it improves, it traditionally kind of do go hand in hand. As the economy gets better, so do the shows. More people come to the shows. the more people have more disposable income to spend as well. As far as business expenses and stuff, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. No worries. Anybody else? If not, I'd like to show you a quick video, kind of some of the things that you'll see. You guys, most of you have probably all heard of What Happens Here Stays Here. That's kind of a campaign that we run and we take advantage of, if you will. So, but this is kind of some of the things that we have. Just a quick video for you.
Fantastic.
That's it.
Well, I really appreciate that, Patrick, because when you live in it, like we all do, you forget what an amazing crazy,
town that we have.
world-class destination that we live in.
That's right.
And our responsibility to keep it that way to the best that we can. So really appreciate that. I was curious, though, how much footage of the EDC did you have to go through to find one with a person with clothes on?
I can't answer that. What happens here stays here.
Exactly, no doubt, no doubt. So, thank you very much,
No,
we really
yeah.
appreciate it.
No, thank you guys for having me and appreciate it as well. So take care now.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay.
Thanks. My only comment besides wow is I gotta get out more.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a ton to see out there, a ton of stuff. Thank you guys.
Give you those well. We'll have some after.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay, our next item is discuss potential projects on the 1 to 2 year planning list for possible action.
Thank you. We'll bring up our trusty map. I think works better in Explorer. Maybe it works better, oops, I always do that. Sorry.
What is your file work? Start.
First one.
The work
Yeah,
order by
thank you very much.
file? I think.
All right, number 5. Yes, I don't think that, we are gonna have a couple to talk about on item 6, but, staff does not have anything for item 5. But it, therefore, to spur a discussion.
Okay?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to provide a quick update on our contract 1431. This is near Washington and Decatur. We're replacing pipeline on Decatur from US 95 to Washington, and in Washington Avenue from Decatur to Glen Abbey Circle. Adriana briefed the commission on this project, I think in November.
Yes.
Just to provide a quick update, we are working with Southwest Gas to combine our UTAX paving efforts to minimize impact to the public.
Outstanding.
And we're also working with City of Las Vegas just to keep the project on track in terms of Project Neon lane closures and rerouting traffic through the area.
Fantastic. I'd love to hear that.
Thank you. This project, this project as well as a similar water district project on Vegas Drive nearby were ones that we talked about before. The water district was having some serious issues getting their traffic control permit, and there are still challenges, especially with Neon and the Washington storm drain going on at the same time. So we appreciate the water district's patience. I know those discussions, I actually almost got a little heated, so I was like, hey, Adrian is like right next to me. And the challenges remain. It's not, to this day, it's not easy to come up with an acceptable traffic solution with all the detours going on. So
Right.
we appreciate the patience, and I've gone beyond my level of influence up to the engineer, and we've done what we could to make sure we're being as reasonable as possible in that separate part of Public Works.
Yeah, well, obviously combining the UTAX, the more that you can get done at one time, I think would tend to balance the impact to the public,
Right.
obviously. So if I can help in any way with the traffic folks, let me know.
I bring up our RTC and the goals of this committee often in my discussions with our barricade
Well,
traffic control people.
And the point is, had brought up before, I mean, it's an example of success on the one hand, that people are talking to one another, combining projects, understanding what other people are doing, and doing their best to get as much done at one time. But it's also an example of failures of the past where, had we been talking at this extent maybe a couple, 3 years ago, we wouldn't be in this bottleneck where, the traffic folks are kind of the last line, or at least they feel like they're the last line of defense on, keeping corridors open. So I think, when we are addressing that, both through this committee and the Cone Management Committee and in other places. So it's a plus and minus like most things in engineering. So we do appreciate the effort.
Okay. Without hearing anything more on item 5, we'll move on to the similar item 6, discuss projects under design and/or agency boundaries for possible action.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Let me get to that section here. If you look in your backup, we like one of these projects so much that we gave it to you twice.
I noticed that.
This is the sewer rehab Group A project. City of Las Vegas, Water Rec. The interesting thing about this one is that it intersected, this should be in your backups, intersected the two planned projects of Lamb Boulevard Complete Streets and Stewart Avenue Complete Streets. So I think, isn't the timing similar, Chris?
Let's see what we had. Well, the sewer was 2018 completion, December, and then the I-15 Charleston interchange, that work doesn't have dates. That was just put on there this week. The complete streets on Stewart, same thing, no data, just on the Fry 2. So there was just 3 projects that were in and around there with, on Fry 2 that are affected, so we didn't get some feedback from the city on.
Yeah, if there are gonna be opportunities, I mean, we weren't sure of the scope because all we have in it on the Lamb Boulevard project was just complete streets, pedestrian upgrades, I think, so we weren't 100% sure on the timing on those. And then we just had a conversation with NDOT and their consultant about the Charleston interchange and the widening of 515. They are expecting, they have the preferred alternative, tight urban diamond for the interchange, and they are expanding the north side of 515. So that's what's going forward in the EA. They are hopeful that the FONSI will be available. The statement of no significant impact from the feds will be available, approved summer of 2019. They're expecting about 2 years worth of right-of-way acquisition and then construction in the 2020 timeframe. Is that right, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously, certainly nowhere near neon, but it's going to have a significant impact locally right there. And you can see we got things under design. We've got several things planned. So there's opportunities for success here, I believe. So we'd be happy to facilitate any conversations that were necessary that aren't already going on. So I guess what I'm asking, Mark, is if we could get some details, to the extent that you have them, on those 2 complete streets projects, just to see where we are as far as timing.
I did not bring a hard copy of my all teams, all projects list. I know that Lamb Boulevard is well ahead of the Stewart job. I don't know anything about the Lamb job. Did you click on it?
I think the only other thing too that we were looking at was, there could be some conflict with Charleston and Lamb. I mean, there's been some NV relocations and some, I know there are gonna be some major construction at that Lamb intersection that I imagine is gonna probably go through the end of 18, and that's something that's an NDOT project. So you have that going on at the intersection of Lamb and Charleston, and then you have also this project that's gonna be on Charleston. Just could be some, even though this is showing, in design, there's a project out there that was, supposed to start, say, months ago, possibly even a year or so ago, right? And so now it's kind of creeping up on the other one that's already been, land's been.
I would also caution everyone to, all the Fry 2 projects listed on this map are going to get updated when the new capital plan, I mean, this was.
That's a good point.
They were all thrown on there back in the day and it was just a wild list. So once we get the new capital plan, we will be revising the Fry 2 list to really look at what's in the next, 3 to 5 years and get the rest of the stuff off that's really just clouding the issues based on where the entities actually program the money.
True.
Bill,
Well,
did
these are all city projects, not any county or boundary issues, so it's good it's all coordination amongst city projects except the missioning of the NDOT at the edge. So we appreciate that. In theory, all our design teams are using this map besides our get-together meetings to coordinate projects. I know Charleston Lamb's been around forever, but it's finally got light at the end of the tunnel to get built. And yeah, it does have major NV energy relocations ahead of the main construction, right?
Well, we are, transmission is completed, so is distribution. We just have, during city's construction, we do have a few distribution things we need to finalize, but we couldn't do that without you guys doing construction. And I know that coming here soon, going out for bid and everything.
Right.
Yeah, the reason it came up on the boundary list is just because the water rec project, or, the water rec project goes into the county, so that's why it's showing up on the border issue agenda item.
It's a good reminder that you even have conflicts within your own entity that use this map to check on. I believe we're good all the way around. Like I said, I believe that Stewart is quite a bit behind Charleston Lamb and the sewer rehab group A, but I know nothing about that Lamb Boulevard Complete Streets. I think it might be one of those that isn't starting soon, but I'm not sure because it's
Well,
on the list.
And again, this is brought up in the spirit of a heads up, so we don't run into the same things we ran into with Vegas Drive and Washington and subsequently Decatur that we just now mentioned. So, anyway, did we have anything else that mentioned specifically on that one, Chris?
I think that was it.
I think that was it.
I was just gonna say, Chris, on the Charleston Lamb for NV Energy, I'll have David send you guys, because we have to extend it, so, we're done with most of it, but we have still it open for certain things, so
Okay.
we'll extend that until we, so when we can complete that.
I think there was another one that I wanted to point out down here, right? On Tropicana, which is that piece right there.
That is Flamingo. Why does it say Tropicana? Because I'm in the wrong place.
Trop and Eastern, that's gonna be right there, that guy. So yeah, we were curious about this one, Robert, because I know the part of this, I know it's an NDOT project, but are there, didn't NDOT just do a bunch of stuff on Tropicana?
We did.
Yeah?
We did from Eastern and went to the east to
The other way?
Highway.
Okay, so this is going the other direction.
This will be going both directions again. This time we're going to incorporate possibly ADA improvements into it.
Okay, okay. We're gonna try not to tear up Russell, Sunset, and Flamingo all at the same time, but it looks like we're pretty clear. Harmon, rehab project probably, I'm guessing, but again, is that a Fry 2 project, do you know? No, okay. So anyway, yeah, I was just curious. I saw this long line on Tropicana and was like, oh my God, weren't we just out on Tropicana? So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Roadways. So anyway, that was the only other one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And assuming there's no reason to zoom in on the other two, are the Lake Mead Boulevard Bike and Ped and safety improvements that you printed out
Yeah,
in Northwest.
we certainly could. I didn't see anything really extraordinary about that one to bring up, but
Okay.
we could dig into it if you like.
I was just double checking if we skipped that by accident, John. That was it.
No, that's okay. I think maybe you can help me, Bill, talking to, because Lori Campbell, she's in NDOT safety, right?
Yes.
So
So I'll give her a call and just to try to understand the scope a little better, because there are some potential conflicts that, no, we're way up here, we gotta be up here at Lake Mead. I had this problem last time when I was hunting around. See what you did, Mark? Now you made me think about it. Yeah, is that it? Yeah. So there's that one and that one.
No, it was the, you had the Lake Mead Bicycle Ped Safety Improvement Project,
Yeah.
and then a few years later.
Oh, that's right, there's
you had
actually
that,
two here.
Storm drain.
Right. See, you shouldn't have said anything, Mark, we were almost out of there. Right, there's, Lake Mead Drain, that's, to Vegas Wash, sitting on top of Lake Mead Bike Ped Safety Improvements. This looks like it's farther out in the future, so that was kind of the question is, like, okay, so NDOT goes in and restripes, add bike lanes with some crossings, and does a lot of good stuff, and then the water rec project, or I guess it's not a water rec project, flood project comes in conjunction with North Las Vegas. So anyway, it's another one. 3 years might be long enough where people will forget about it. So anyway, now I'm done.
Okay. If nobody had anything else, I was going to try to quickly go through the weeds in some of the data fields, which I think will be a benefit for at least some of the other entities. So I'm gonna look at the hard copy of the printout that was in here twice on Sewer Rehab Group A, but you could click on anything just to get up the typical data fields that you get with a single click of the mouse there. Really anything. That's fine. City job. So the first one is a no-brainer, but I'm gonna go right down the list again as quick as I can, because I'm not sure everyone here is gonna benefit from the city's take on some of these things. So we've had a few more internal meetings after meeting with RTC's GIS. There's some logic fields we still haven't changed in the way we upload, so they fit perfectly into these columns. And there was a few things we wanted to talk to RTC more about possibly changing maybe a little logic on their field. So we haven't done any of that, completed any of that yet. But we have gone through all the fields and looked at a lot of projects that we're in and seen some errors. So that's why I think there might be benefit to the whole group. First, we're reminding all of our project managers, program managers like myself, to, especially in RTC jobs, make sure the name, kind of a no-brainer, is identical or very close to what the funding agreement is. That makes it easier for everybody. And Regional Flood Control also is constantly reminding of that. Nothing that I have from the city standpoint to say on status. There are certain things in our computer program on status that we convert to make your fields. It's doing fine. The RTC project number, a couple things on that. There are fields we could harvest, we're not right now, to populate that on our uploads instead of you putting it in. And do you care if we always listed the RTC contract first, RTC 00-whatever, do you care if the field actually brings in, if the Regional Flood Control and NDOT contract associated with that job, if they bring in two, bring in also, I don't know how many, whether you'd have a problem with too much data, but the field is,
Todd here?
they're all merged.
I prefer if we put them into a different column, because that project number is linked in a script to a different database,
Okay,
so we keep those separate.
that's fine. It's just a slight change. It's not really even a logic change. It's just a slight change in the way we enter things in our internal program. The other thing is, we have told you, because for the multiple entries that once, and you've gotten, like you've done for a number of entities, gotten your own projects in before we could get them in because we were taking our time, RTC, taking too much time to get them in. But we had requested that when you get the city upload, it's the same project. If you're going through, you can delete everything that's below it. The same project might have been input by you and input by us. But we haven't been putting that RTC number in. So if you erase something you put in and replace it with something we're uploading, you would lose, you might
Right.
lose that and some other things. It's a reminder. It might affect some
Yeah, no,
of
that's a
the
good
other
point.
We're gonna try to start putting that RTC number in so it automatically fills, but in the meantime, if you erase earlier versions, you're gonna have to put that in yourself. So we're gonna do that as soon as possible. That's all I had on that one. Construction type, again, we have certain fields that we've converted to work with the names you're expecting. The estimated design start and design finish, we have those fields that should be populating. That's just a reminder internally that we need to start filling those in. At the city, we concentrate on having accurate, what we call quarter dates, at 30% design. We will actually start showing start and end of construction in quarter estimates, and we've been converting those. We like them in quarter estimates kind of for, keep it kind of a little loose for the public and officials so they don't expect exact dates, but we've converted those to the end of those quarter dates. But we found a lot that they just weren't in there, and I think the one we were on before, Sewer Rehab Group A, had an estimated end and not an estimated beginning of construction, which doesn't make any sense. So we actually fixed a lot of those. We made an upload kind of late yesterday, maybe after you'd run this. I don't know if we caught that one. I don't know if we caught that one, but we are actually making a major effort to fix those. So it will remain, design start and design end are fields that a lot of people weren't filling in. We're just gonna make sure they're in. The logic should be fine on the upload. The estimated NTT and estimated end are very, very important. And we're rapidly fixing all of those. I did have a question. You don't, every field that's in your database isn't in this view. Do you actually, when we have a different field that brings in the actual NTP instead of the end of the quarter date, when it's an actual hard NTP issued to the contractor, are you replacing that? Because you have another field that shows actual construction start.
Yes.
So if we gave you that date, and we might have talked about this in a meeting, but we weren't certain when we met again yesterday internally at the city, if that's being replaced with the actual date when.
It is now, right, Todd? The actual, when we get the actual start date, we are putting it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
The owners, no problem. The participant, we had a question on that I'm sure we talked about here, and maybe, hopefully I'm not the only one to forget. The participant could be a utility who's doing, I mean, we have utility participants in every job, but is the logic behind this field that if you had something really major, you might list a utility? If you had a job like Kyle Canyon that we designed, it's our project that's being uploaded, but they're building, might list NDOT as a participant. It's kind of open to interpretation, but you might just list your other major players there?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
SWG, NVE, NDOT. The idea is that when we don't really do this very often, but down here, you can click on Southwest Gas, and it will, let's back it up, let's do it this way. And then if we click on Southwest Gas, so let's see if this is reading. Okay, in this case, Southwest Gas is the owner, but there are other examples of where Southwest Gas is not the owner, but a participant. Maybe these down here. I think these are some. There's two, NVE and Southwest Gas. The idea is that to populate those fields so the public has a feel for how much Southwest Gas work is being done, not just on their own capital stuff, but what's included in the other roadway projects. And it also works for water rec and, flood and whomever else, fill in the blank. Because we wanted to be able to communicate the scope of each agency's work. And really the only way to do that was to have the flexibility to put them in on projects, because when you click on this, it reads both fields, right? Obviously it reads both fields, right, Todd? It reads the participant field and the owner field. Yep. So again, just to try to create a more accurate picture of what's going on. So it can be used exactly like you said. It's discretionary.
great, yeah, if I had a couple hundred feet, a 2-inch gas line, minor relocation, I might not list them, but if I had a lot of high-pressure large stuff, I might list it.
Right,
And I would definitely list NDOT for a job they're building, but we put it in because we're designing it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
okay,
That's the point. And as far as the utilities go, that's a conversation with the utilities as well, Their work is being done within your project, so it is your project, and we can get that information from you, and that would relieve the burden on them to give us the information that, since it's included in your project, it really is your project. So if the agencies can put that information in when they have a utility partner, then that relieves the burden on them, and they can just focus on their capital stuff and put it in. But again, it's a two-way street, it's communication. Again, the point is trying to paint an accurate picture for the public.
Well, JP, there still needs to be, even though, like on Charleston Lamb, it's a city project within NDOT right away. But we have, certain timeframes versus what the city's gonna do, or versus what Southwest Gas is gonna do, or whatever. So it's important that we also add that in there, and they would be adding their own, but like you said, to check that all these other utilities are in there would be helpful, but they need to, contact us for any updates. and things
Oh,
like that.
absolutely.
So that will still continue, as I'm understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think at any point where you felt participant wasn't a good enough descriptor of what a utility was doing as related to a public entity CIP, you always have the option, especially if you're doing a lot of big work before the major CIP started, or just a lot of big work concurrent with that major CIP, but it's all getting done first, or it's all getting done in the end, and you want to capture that, you can always just create your own project. You might still be a participant in the CIP, the roadway project, but you could always create your own project that, even if it's immediate, if it's underneath that project, so you have to click to find it. The way it is now, you can zoom in and you can see them. They're not invisible like they were a year ago when we were first starting. So yeah, I think any utility that wanted to create their own project, so they have their own end dates and their own tracking, yeah, they should absolutely do that.
Well, I'm starting to think different now. I think that maybe you should deal with all of our stuff, and you get the calls. No, just kidding.
Having enough trouble. And the very last one, or the last two, is the contact. We found a lot that were missing in your database, yet when we printed out our hard copies of the database we use and convert and upload, they would show up. Well, they just weren't input as project managers, and the logic only imports them if they're listed as project managers. So we fixed a ton of those yesterday.
Fantastic.
And that was it on that. So.
Yeah, and just in general, I mean, again, this is a work in progress. That's the understatement of the day, for sure. There's absolutely nothing cast in stone about these things. I think this is at least the second iteration, and I promise that we are going to better define what these things mean. We want to be I'm speaking for Joe here, I mean, we want to be able to have, we want to be able to put in hard dates that we know based on our process as far as agendas. When we get best bids, for instance, there are hard dates that come in through the process. But this can't just fit the RTC's world. This has to fit everybody's world to the greatest extent possible. So these things have to have some flexibility on how the agencies use them, and that's why they are kind of vague right now. Which is fine as long as everybody knows how everybody else understands it. So as a starting point, I promised a couple meetings ago that we will get out to the group our understanding of what these things are, and then that might facilitate a conversation on coming up with better descriptors or even additional or fewer dates. Again, the first point is project coordination. The second point is notification to the public on what's going on. So nothing's cast in stone.
I am gonna, because you brought that one up, I'll take a second on this. So in spite of all the efforts we're doing in the main CIP group, there are jobs that are transportation part of Public Works. They're often small like this that are probably aren't big coordination issues for this committee, but they don't have, they get them in the system, but they're not part of the kind of the quality control and checking. I don't want to say quality control, just that hammering on the project managers to get those dates in. So we're actually trying to do that. Like I took personal responsibility for getting the dates in for the whole other department of OMM for the rehab projects, the overlay projects. So you'll actually see those in shape files with quarter dates now. Our
Fantastic.
quarter dates converted to construction starting in. A lot of them got in the last week or two. So.
Great, appreciate it.
Okay, if that was it, thanks everybody for hearing the city side of thing. Again, I think some of it would be germane to the other users of this map. So, with that said, we're moving on to item 7, receive a report from the Code Management Working Group.
Okay. Let's, you want to start with the video? Let's start with the video. Okay, what we're going to see here is a failure to communicate. No. Well, actually, yes. We'll just watch it and then I'll talk when we're done. So, anyway, we showed that at the Cone Management meeting. Let's get this thing going again here.
And we're right back here. We're in Albany, here at the intersection of Sunset and Jones Boulevard, where work continues right behind me. Now, the good news
Back up here a little bit. Oh, shoot, that was it.
Now, the good news, things are starting to wind down with this
Let us zoom out here a little bit. Okay. What was missed?
It's a developer project, and thus.
No, what was missed by Mr. Smith? The fact that everything he was looking for is right here.
Well, he's a reporter.
Right. So, who it was, where it was, you know, if you didn't understand it, you know, certainly get a hold of us. You know, this is the official approved county, what we call project sign. This is the sign that's approved for use in the city of Las Vegas. There was some confusion, obviously, on which sign was required. Nicole pointed out in the cone management meeting that they would have had an inspector, and maybe they did, had an inspector gone along and found this, they probably would have given them a fine for having the wrong sign up here. But the point of bringing this up at the cone management group, and again to you, is, you know, two things. Number one, sometimes no matter what you do, people are not satisfied. And we all know that because we are public servants. But the second thing is that there is a lot of information out there available to the public, not just at the site, if they take the time to, you know, run some of this down, but also, you know, here. One of the misunderstandings, I think, for the purpose of the Seeing Orange site, and we communicated this, I'm told, to Mr. Smith, is that, you know, we cannot possibly have every single project that is out there on the map. We are doing our level best to get every project out there, including development projects, and the irony is that this project actually was on the map for some time. And it moved, so we took it off the map and then didn't put it back on because we weren't sure that it was actually out there again. But the point is that if you see something you don't understand, call us and we'll run it down for you with the help of our agencies, which is great. We found and got the answer back to Ken, even though he made it sound like it was a giant deal, within minutes. And it was actually, Todd had the project on the map literally within minutes of getting the information. So, you know, it's an ongoing effort. And then thirdly, you know, just how people get their information now. You know, modern folks, you know, phone numbers just do not register. People go to websites. You know, they have been trained to get this information instantly. So, you know, we are redoubling our efforts to make this website and that the information that we serve out to the public absolutely as accurate as possible. That's why we're talking to private development. That's why we're continuing the conversations with the member agencies to get better connected into their processes so we can extract that data to get this information up there. But, you know, I think this does point to the need for, you know, possibly a conversation in the committees, the Ops Committee, the Specifications Committee, ultimately maybe the Executive Advisory Committee, this committee potentially on, you know, what information do we really want on site that's going to resonate, that people can understand and people can quickly get to, because we do have an obligation to inform people of what's going on out there, and we all take that seriously. And I think this is a good example of maybe it is effective, maybe it was not effective just in this particular case, but I think it warrants a discussion amongst in the committees that are responsible for such things. So certainly not meant to throw anybody under the bus. As it turns out, Public Works did respond to Ken with the information. We found out, Nicole told me that, and Tammy's shaking her head back there. So that was potentially a misstatement. Just to illustrate the importance of these things and the fact that not everybody sees the obvious. So, in any event.
JP.
Yes, sir.
It seemed like way back when we worked on a you know, kind of a template of what should be on there, and I don't know if we have that, or are we using it, or is each government agency coming up with their own requirement? How is that going? Because you know, more or less, I know distribution on my side would be doing this, but I know we're going to be doing this, so I want to make sure where
That's a very good question. Clark County, this is Clark County's format. To answer your question, there is no regional standard. Each agency is doing their own thing. This is the city's format. Now, I had an informal conversation with the city engineer, Alan Pavelka at the city, and he had no issues adopting the county standard if that was the way to go to streamline and you know, make a single thing out there where everybody can understand the information.
Henderson and Las Vegas do not use these signs. They do not require these signs. At least that's my understanding. What did I say? I apologize. North Las Vegas and the city of Henderson do not require the signs. City of Las Vegas does, although it's not something that they really are enforcing. Clark County does enforce it. They find it very useful, particularly this permit number for their inspectors, because of their finding system. Is that an overstatement, Robert?
Everything on the list is driven off the number.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So this is critically important in the Clark County's world. You know, as you remember, you know, there was a discussion on this. How is there a way that we could get this information out to the folks without having yet a third sign? And the county was gracious enough to agree to put these on their signs. In the olden days, this rang at their Development Services Center, I believe. Was that right, Tammy? Wasn't that the Development Services number down here? Yeah. So again, we're trying to drive people to this site, again, so we can help share the burden of explaining these things. That was great. We didn't have the project on there when he looked, but we had it on there literally within 5 minutes of getting the notification, so, for what it's worth. But did that answer your question, Sean? It's
Yeah.
kind of a
It is, but
a
the
mix.
thing that's coming to play in is, you know, city of Las Vegas, Clark County, city's okay with, you know, Clark County's sign. Why don't we make that kind of a standard, since they're the only two using it? You know, and then see if we can get, you know, because the major stuff are happening within Clark County and city, but now Henderson's starting to really, you know, do some pickup, and there's going to be a lot of work, and this is very helpful for people that are driving and need questions answered. And I know for the Las Vegas monorail that we presented, we want to make sure that we have a sign, but we also have a representative at NB Energy that would be helping, you know, minimize that. And so I'd be getting, you know, with a number of you people, so you know who to call if you guys, utilities or government agencies need to get with, so that we can coordinate those efforts, because we want to make sure of that.
Well, I appreciate that, Sean, and I agree. The mechanism to get that done is, well, one mechanism to get that done is through our specifications committee that everybody has a piece of, all the agencies, the traffic operations subcommittee, which everybody has a piece of, to really sit down and collaboratively come up with a solution that a one-stop shop where people can go and see what that sign's supposed to look like. And if we ended up adopting the county sign, that's great. But right now, the specifications are silent on it. If you want information on it, you go to Clark County, right, and you have a detail that you send out to the barricade companies.
It goes through the barricade review process.
The barricade review
Yeah.
process. And I agree, we need to expand that and have a region-wide conversation on what we're trying to do.
So, Robert, on your end with this sign, this is the number there is getting with the Clark County Water Rec, or
What number is it?
like, you know, company 20, or okay,
That's
it's
Tam's
company.
phone number, and then that's the striping company's phone number.
Okay, so it's the
And that's the
right.
barricade permit number.
And the
That's
top
the
is the
barricade.
permit number, yes.
So, but that's for barricade, but what about the information like we did on Flamingo, where we have, you know, situations that people, customers or are driving have certain issues that are not dealing with, you know, the coning. You see my point?
With patching or with the other stuff?
Patchy, time, you know, time frames, they have more different questions that a coning.
Are you
company
talking about
would-
like a project sign?
Yeah,
That-
a project sign.
We don't require the developer put out a project.
That's up to each individual project.
Okay, because I know before you guys did,
We used to have our phone number at the bottom so they could call us
Right,
and ask
right.
questions.
but then that became crazy.
It's just, we can't tell them the timeframes, we can't
Right.
tell them when the guy's gonna be done.
Okay, well then
Those that
that helps me
dust control
answer that.
permit sign required.
Really, a lot of this is, so if they have an accident or they have something, they got the information right there of who they're after,
Gotcha.
who's responsible for it.
Okay, so that's mainly for all coning. Any other things, that'd be another sign.
And on developer projects, neither the right-of-way owner nor the utility really have any insight as to the construction timing or duration
True.
that the I mean, it's,
Well, with a given
Review
developer, but
everything.
if you're doing the work, I mean, and it's gonna affect, say, you know, the convention center or other events that you're saying downtown events that hotels are, you know, dealing with, you know, they may wanna get with somebody if something's happening that shouldn't be happening and they didn't know about it.
We usually they don't have a problem giving us, they usually know where we are.
So they contact you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because I know they, Cedarburg wanted us to look at them getting with us, because they didn't have that
Right.
capability.
So in the field, if they're there doing that, typically if the people have complaints, they'll go to them and they'll just bounce them to us.
Okay,
TAN's not gonna take up, you know, why are you here, how'd you get approved this many days? They're just gonna bounce them straight to
good,
us.
okay, I like it. Thank you.
Right. So, anyway, probably enough of that, Mr. Chairman, but that came up in cone management, and I think it's something we're going to pursue. It is something we're going to pursue.
Yeah, I agree with my boss on this one. I like a county sign for developers projects. I agree with Alan. I don't know if he's the last say in that though, so that'll take some time. But I also agree, there might be some standardization with all the.
Yeah, and that's the main thing we're
jurisdictions.
hearing from industry, both on the contractor side and the barricade company side, is, you know, they just wanna know what it is and have a consistent, you know, being used in the same way, looks the same way, there's a policy on its use, and they have an opportunity to comment. So, it definitely serves a purpose. Now, whether that purpose is lost on some folks, well, we can't help that. All we can do is provide the information.
Well, and you can understand, you know, someone driving, that, you know, just, anyone that's driving it, there's two signs, there's two different kinds of numbers, which one do I call? I mean, you know, it's kind of
Well, if you're
confusing.
driving by, you're never gonna be able to read it and write those numbers down.
No, they usually pull over.
Sean, this was a mistake anyway. That city sign shouldn't have been there.
Right.
I understand.
Probably didn't make that clear. Yeah,
And- But it is there, and I have seen that before, because sometimes, the county wants us to make sure that we have also another sign for, you know, that goes into, so I'm in the county, now I'm going into the city, so that I have another sign that says you know, this is a city portion that I'm working on.
Oh, interesting. Didn't know
I'm
that.
sure the city's permit requires their sign to be there too if you cross over the boundary.
Not really.
They don't do it?
You guys mainly want us to do that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because I think it's a good thing
I think it's a
for-
good thing they know where the boundary is.
Correct. It's just how we present it, so it's not confusing.
Yeah, I'm wondering why TAN has two different 24-hour contact numbers. I'm guessing one is right and one is wrong.
Yeah, I agree, amen.
Well, this is TAN's 24-hour number.
Right.
This is the barricade.
No,
company's
I mean
24-hour
the
number.
city sign there.
Yeah,
that
we
number.
looked, we got to the bottom of what's numbered. I think that's a 455 number.
Huh.
Oh, no, that couldn't be, because that's the city sign.
We
Yeah.
just,
There was an explanation on what number that was, and I forgot. It was, somebody recognized it.
It's a generic city number, right?
Yeah. Goes, yes,
City number is 229.
Yeah, it's not a
455 would be us.
yeah.
Yeah.
455. So anyway,
Anyway,
sorry.
I did want to note as we're closing that probably everyone knows this, but these we've been talking about the private development signs, the signs that go up for a capital improvement project by the county or North Las Vegas or the city are often are usually they're a little more standard, but they're often per the funding agency, Regional Flood Control or you, and I believe ours, I've seen it a zillion times, I believe ours we do put, kind of back to your question, Sean, we do put our construction rep's phone number on it. So if it's a city job, I believe they can go straight to the city instead of to TAN or
and you
whoever.
guys do, when it's a city job that you're doing.
All right. If that is it.
That's it.
Item 8 is other topics of interest.
We do have one on our side. You want to take it away, Joe?
Yeah, actually, we have a couple, and I'll make them quick, 'cause we've been here pretty long, but, first thing is, next month, I wanna kinda get a draft schedule of presentations out for the next fiscal year. I'm gonna propose that RTC and Regional Flood go in June to present the capital plans of all of the road networks and all of the flood networks, and therefore, then the agencies, as we spread them out, only have to touch on the stuff that's not covered by us. So we'll try to limit their presentations. Maybe we could squeeze 3 entities in a time frame if they're only dealing with everything else other than roadway and flood control. That's one thing. Just an update on the developer projects, we're shooting for July to start getting those added to these maps, and in July, getting all the format changing and all that, so we're working on that. And then the third thing is, it came up in specification subcommittee, a potential to revise the standard drawing for the utility layout in the typical roadway section. If you guys are okay with it, then we will start processing that. The recommendation was basically to dimension everything off of center line rather than off of each other from the edge of right-of-way, because as the streets narrow, the dimensions from the center line stay the same, but it gets kind of interpreted a little differently if it's measured from the outside. So therefore, it would be less change on some of the utility locations. All right, so like if water line is a set distance from the center line, and the gas line is a set distance off the water line, but yet right now we're doing it off the edge of right-of-way, and if we move that edge of right-of-way in, then that has an impact. If it's measured from the center line, then it stays exactly where it should be in relationship to the center line.
And that came from a conversation with DOA?
Yeah, I came, conversation with the water district. So
Water district.
if there is an appetite for that, we will start proposing those recommendations and send it out.
Yeah, that'll go through the spec
Right,
committee.
it'll go through the
so-
whole committees, but we just wanted to see if there was an appetite here to make that change on that
I
drawing.
think that's good.
Would there be an issue with providing additional offsets? Would you only
Right,
want to see
right.
the center line? Because I think we have requirements on how we dimension new
True.
gas line off of things that we need 2 dimensions.
Which I think would be great, because the center line would, like you said, Joe, is perfect
Yeah,
idea, and we usually try to govern by that. But again, just like, Diana
why
was
would you need
saying-
2?
Huh?
Why would you need, I'm confused on why you would need 2.
Because just like
Well, if
she
the
has certain
right-of-way
requirements.
changes, right, but the center line didn't for some reason, you have that secondary measurement to go off of. So when they hook up for their secondary confirmation line locate, if they're noticing it's funny off of the center line, maybe the center line shifted, so then they'll go to the right-of-way and check off the right-of-way to see. So it's added insurance that our line is where we is.
But this is more for when they're building new stuff? That's what the
And even
typical
off the
section's
new
for?
stuff, we don't know if the right-of-way is gonna change or the road alignment's going to change, so we require both, so that we are able to go out and find it if one changes.
Same here.
Yeah, but we can talk about that, but I'll have a issue with that, because then
That's
it's
a
gonna, 'cause
requirement
but who's
that's-
gonna build it off of what? That's the problem, is you're leaving too much, if it's built off of one, then you know where it is. If you have both, then one contractor's gonna build it off the right of way, and one's gonna build it off the center line.
Well, but here's the thing to your thing, Joe, we can say we're using the center line for construction if the center line does not move. Ever. So the center line in most cases do stay right where they are.
Well, there'll be plenty of opportunities to
To
to kick this
vet it
around.
through.
Yeah, this is just conceptual, came out of a conversation, so I don't hear any objection to at least exploring the idea and then working out those details
Right.
through the committees on if you need a secondary offset or what. So we can have those conversations later. But is there an appetite to at least move forward through the committee, the spec committee? We're
We're the same.
hearing no objections,
We'll move forward.
we'll move forward?
Forward.
All right, forward.
That was it.
So let it be written.
Okay, so you will see an agenda item through the spec committee, getting that process started.
That's it?
That's it?
Okay.
For us?
Last item is the final comment period for citizens. This one can be anything within the jurisdiction of this committee, not whether it was on the agenda or not. Was there anything? Is there anything? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.
Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Robert,
Thanks, Joe.
this Dustin, what's the question? Trying to backfill where there's no.
And